You've found Adventitious, where a dad and his two sons take on the world's problems one podcast at a time. Welcome to Adventitious. Well, today we got a few different topics to talk about. I'm Wonko.
I'm Ford.
And I am Zaphod.
It is back to school week, which will be interesting.
Yeah, we go back on the 24th. I don't know why they're putting us back on a Wednesday in the middle of the week.
Because they're cruel and mean people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, seems about right.
All right, so what classes are you guys taking?
Pull up my schedule right now.
Well, you should know what your classes are.
I know. I finally was able to squeeze.
I'm trying to avoid it.
I finally was able to squeeze woodworking in.
Doing it
because I couldn't fit that in the first.
Okay, what was it?
I finally was able to squeeze woodworking into my schedule because I didn't have room for it last year. That made me happy.
Woodworking is a fun class.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and I got driver's ed. That's always nice.
Yeah, I'm going into my junior year, so it's all like required classes.
Ooh.
It's kind of terrible. I have like 2 like optional classes, and even those are 4 credits. They aren't like just free classes. Yeah.
What classes are they?
3D graphics and 3D animation.
You'll have fun with those. That's stuff you enjoy.
Both are art credits, so.
I got another one I'm quite excited for. It's jewelry making.
That could be cool.
I'm mad because they brought that to my high school like a couple of years after I graduated. I would have killed to take that class.
And they're counting it as fine arts.
They should. It's sculpture.
Yes, but I would expect it to be under like a CTE.
Yeah.
Because that's what like the woodworking's under. But it's another way for me to get my fine arts credits without having to take like painting or something.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of that form of art anymore. I used to draw a lot, but I've
that and ceramics.
Not liked it anymore.
I guess I do have one actual art class. I'm taking a concurrent enrollment drawing class, so I don't have to take it again in college. So yeah, not having to take another drawing class again in college will be nice. So.
Well, see, I loved drawing classes. They were fun for me, but then again, I also worked it, so I had 5 periods of art my senior year.
See, they're okay. I'm just not very good at drawing. Like I end up, what happens is I start working on a project, and then I don't like it, and then I start over, and then I don't like it, and I start over, and then I just get behind in the classes, and I don't like any of my projects because it's not what I envisioned in my head, and that annoys me.
Mm-hmm.
I get that, but the only way you solve that is by doing it, and doing it, and doing it, and doing it. And eventually, it starts actually looking like you envisioned. Actually, it was only when I was in college and taking some art classes there that I finally started having some of my paintings actually look like what I wanted them to look like. Which is kind of sad to say that it took me that long. But yeah, I mean, and then I stopped taking the class and haven't done anything with it basically since.
You did illustrate that one book.
Yes. Yeah, I did do that, and I've done a few things along the way, but I'll do graphic design every now and again, but it has certainly taken a back seat to everything else that I do.
Yeah, graphic designing is a art form that I like a lot more than other art forms. But yeah. Graphic design, like photoshopping stuff and all that kind of thing is kind of the kind of art that I've been leaning more towards lately.
The digital
stuff, yeah.
Okay, so what other classes other than graphic design? And jewelry? Jerk.
I said woodworking, and I got that other art one, and then I'm excited for chemistry. I wanted to take honors chem my freshman year, but then all the science teachers yelled at me and said that I wouldn't be able to, it would be too hard for me my freshman year, and that kind of depressed me. But now I can take it this year, so. That's exciting.
You've been watching too much Cody's Lab and periodic videos.
No. I've liked chemistry long before I ever started watching
It's
them.
kind of true. Cody's Lab kind of, and other like periodic channels and stuff really help you learn it. It's like I'm taking chemistry, so I'm like a year behind on what science classes I've been taking because I took physics first year, and that was the best decision I've ever made because there was an amazing teacher that moved the next year. But so I took physics the first year to get it out of the way, and so now I'm like offset with the grade lower than me for my science classes.
You must love that.
Oh yeah, I love it. Obviously. Physics was actually more fun than I thought it would be, though. I hate math so much, but physics
You need to know math,
you apply like what you are doing to an actual thing instead of Johnny bought 90 watermelons and a half or something, or 90 watermelons and a half or something at the department store.
You don't buy watermelons at a department store.
In those books, you do. It's what happens.
No.
In those books, you do.
No, I don't think so. I don't think that's how it works.
Problems.
Maybe watermelon graphic T-shirts or something. But
story problems are just their way of trying to apply the math you've already learned to the real world.
Yeah.
They're not particularly effective at it, but that's what the intent is for you to try and be able to see how it works in the real world. Okay, so you start Wednesday. What classes do you have the first day?
I have woodworking first period. So one thing I was kind of excited about is, so the woodworking teacher, he's supposed to be like a really good teacher, and I have him for both woodworking and my art 1020. So
cool.
So I got woodworking, then careers, chemistry, then English, the worst class ever.
So I am first day I have chemistry, then financial literacy, and then I have online classes. I've been doing math online for a year or half a year or so now, and it's seriously so much better because you don't have to interact with the math teachers that confuse you more than teach you.
Says my antisocial son.
Well, no, okay, I love the social aspect of school. That's why I don't want to move to full online classes, because I love hanging out with friends at school, but I wouldn't go full online. Like, I still want math online because then I can actually pass it.
See, I would never take math online because then I can't spend the last hour of class after I finish everything in the first half hour talking to everybody else in the class.
Well, you see, the problem is, so I wouldn't be able to finish it in that time because the teacher has spent half an hour confusing me instead of teaching me the thing.
Yeah, I finish my work while she's teaching.
I've had a long line of terrible
I pretty much don't even listen to the teacher teach because there's like the little teaching thing on the worksheet. You can just read that, and then you don't have to listen to the teacher confuse you.
It doesn't work because they don't give them out in all the classes that I've been in for the past few years. But I've had a teacher that swears, throws his papers down, says he quits, and then walks back in the room multiple times throughout the year.
Is that teacher number one who was the sexist one?
Oh yeah, he also divided the class, boys and girls on one side, boys on the others, and then didn't help the boys because he thought that the boys were being terrible and that the girls were the good people. And so he was bringing candy to the girls and stuff, and like thought he was so cool until we brought it to the principal and got him fired. And then the next year, I had a crazy cat lady who had a shrine of her cats in her cupboard and would open it up during lunch and just look at it. It was not good.
Wait, you don't have shrines to your cats in like your locker and stuff?
No.
I'm the only one who does that.
Obviously you aren't, because this teacher did.
I don't do that. I don't even have cats.
I'd walk up and ask her
Disclaimer.
We
for
don't
help.
have pets.
Yeah.
We're a non-pet family. We have
I'd swell up like a balloon if we had pets. We'd all swell up
we had
like
sea
balloons.
monkeys once.
They died in like a week.
No. They actually they
They
lived
actually
for a long
stayed
time.
along
We
live
had
for a
multiple
while.
generations of sea monkeys, but
did?
eventually
they bred.
Oh, we went on a vacation. I remember now. We went on a vacation and they died.
Something. We got down to one or two, and I think we got below a breeding population on them, and they went away. But and quite frankly, I think it was just that the water got really nasty. So yeah, that's about as far as we get with pets, and that's probably a good thing for the world.
And our non being swollen up like balloons.
That as well.
I don't like being balloon boy.
I'll share a story of my last math teacher and what drove me to go to online. She refused to help me. I'd raise my hand, she'd look at me, and then just continue teaching or continue doing whatever she's doing at her desk. And so basically, I walked up to her and was like, I really need help on this. Can you please help me? Like, completely nice. And she said, you don't put the effort towards working on it, so I'm not going to help you. And it was just like, that's probably not the exact words that she said, but paraphrasing from what I remember, that's basically what she said. And so then I was like, okay, whatever. And then she did these bathroom passes that raised if you didn't use them, it raised your grade by 2%. And that's literally the only reason why I passed the class, was that 2%. Because, I'd watch her. This one time, I handed the test to her, and I, watched as she, was just marking random ones wrong, and I went over and went and checked, the answers online and stuff, and they were right, and I went up to her, and she's like, oh, I must have made a mistake. And it was ridiculous. So I finally was just, went and talked to my counselor and ended up getting online as an option. And the last day that I'm having her sign the paper to release me from the class, she's like, can you explain to me how online is going to help you be better in math? And I was in everything my power, trying not to just say to her face, because I won't have you as a teacher, and then just walk out. But I can't remember what exactly I said, but it wasn't that bad. It was enough to make her not like me anymore. But
I don't know. I had a geometry teacher who, he was the football coach, and he was a great football coach, but he was a crummy geometry teacher. And I finally, my first quarter, I think I got a D, and I was banging my head against the wall going, what is going on? Because geometry is something I get. And I finally realized I had to just completely tune him out. I would do my assignment while he was talking, and my problem in that class, once I did that, and I started getting A's after that, my problem was I got so far ahead that I started forgetting stuff by the time the test came around. So I had to kind of slow down and go back and redo things so that I could be prepared for the test.
you see,
There
teachers-
is one issue with doing that is when the teacher calls on you to answer a question, and you've been sitting there doing your assignments, and you're just like, wait, what?
That does cause a problem.
or you just say 42 really loudly, and then
21?
nah.
But see,
21's
that
a
should be
dead- that's a
accepted
dead
as the answer to all questions.
It
I
should.
did that for okay. That is one thing that I liked about my last teachers. So I was staring up into space one time because it just happens, and she calls on me, and I say the
ADHD
answer is
problem.
42, and she's like, no, that is the answer to life, the universe, and everything, not the answer to this math question. And then just moved on, and I got let go. It was perfect.
I think the
But-
main issue with your cat lady teacher is I think she just shouldn't be teaching the regular math classes, because she teaches the compressed honors math classes, which are the 2 years of math in 1 year.
I think she just explains it with a higher.
I think
thing, I
she's
guess.
she shouldn't be teaching that because she spends too much time with the compressed math.
Mm-hmm. It makes sense.
Yeah.
One of the problems with going ahead, though, is modern teachers, all the teachers that I've had, they don't let you go ahead. They won't let you go ahead, like, at all. They give you an assignment, and you complete that assignment right then. And I've tried asking for a few in my classes, could I get the assignments ahead of time? And they're like, no.
Well, the issue with that is a lot of the modern teachers are lazy, and they don't print them out till the day before.
Some, not a lot.
Well,
that's
because they aren't
statement.
using textbooks anymore because they're too dang expensive.
Yeah.
When I was doing it, you knew, okay, it's always the even problems. You do the even problems. And the reason for that is the answers for all the odd problems were in the back of the book, so that's why they didn't have you do the odd problems. But you had to go through and do all the even problems.
They gave us a journal for math this last year, and every problem was in the back with the answers and stuff. And the teacher didn't know it for like 3 weeks into it, and then all of a sudden she's like, all right, I want you to do this problem, but if you put the answer that's in the back of the book, then I'm going to get mad at you. And teaches it a different way that's in the book. Just to deter you from doing it. It was... Anyway.
The sad thing is there are some really, really good teachers out there, too. Mm-hmm. It just... Unfortunately, some of these topics... It's like you said, you had your physics teacher who was really good.
And first, my physics teacher, I would go over to him with my regular math questions, and he would help me better than my regular math teacher would. It was amazing. And then he had to move from our state over to another state, and yeah.
Wonko, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't you throw an eraser at a teacher?
Yes, but only in return fire. So, all right. I had a teacher he was the dean. Like they have a dean in high school of the English department. He was a pompous jerk. And yeah, well, my older sister, your aunt, had a problem with him before. And he just, I don't know. Anyway, this was an honors English class. Like first week of school, he gave us this giant paper, and we never got it back. We never got any of our papers back. He gave us this huge paper that was due like the day before Christmas vacation. He gives us this assignment, and it's due the day we come back from Christmas vacation. Never gets it back to us. And everybody's getting these B minuses and these random grades, but nobody knows why they're getting the grade they're getting. I mean, it's like, is he using a big roulette wheel back there? So, well, and of course, it was one of those cases, too, where the cute girls were the ones that were getting good grades. You know. So, he's sick one day. And being nosy teenagers, the substitute hadn't shown up yet. So we started looking around. And lo and behold, there are our papers. We look at it and, hey, I want to see what I got on that. I never actually saw my paper. There were only 4 papers that were actually graded in the entire stack. There was another stack, same thing. He hadn't graded any of the papers all year. And he was just giving random grades. It was purely a popularity contest. And there was something that set me off. There was a paper, he'd been saying for weeks, oh, I'll get those papers to you next week. I'll get those papers to you next week. He didn't. And so something snapped in me, and I just said, Mr. I'm not going to say his name. Can I ask where our papers are? Well, yeah, I just haven't had time to get to them. I'll get them to you next week. I said, but it's been 2 months now, and you took our whole Christmas vacation for those. I think it would be really nice to get those back. I'll get them to you when I can. Well, let me ask you this. Can I see my Fall of the House of Usher paper that was the one we did the first week in school? At which point I get the stink eye. And I said, I'd like to see that. Actually, I'd like to see any of my papers with a grade on them. And I said, produce one right now. One that has a grade on it. At which point he gets this crazy look, and I said, you can't do it because you haven't graded any of them. This whole class is a sham. And steam's coming out of his ears. And after a couple of minutes of me going off on him, he throws his eraser at me, which it was quite styling. I happened to grab it in the air. It was just like, it's coming at me, and I lifted my hand and just grabbed it, threw it right back at him. And he just, astonished I would do such a thing, had no idea what to do. It was, and there was one girl, oh, Wonko, leave him alone. He's not doing anything wrong. And it's like, excuse me.
He's just giving you good grades because you're the cute girl.
Yeah, pretty much. That's what it was. And it was funny because the whole rest of the day, people come in, I understand you took on. It's like, well, yeah, I guess I did. It made me quite the hero because everybody else felt the same way about it. But it isn't something I would say that you should do.
Yeah.
Don't just go around to
because the lowest grade he would give is a B-, and I got B-s the rest of the year in that class because he hated me. There was no way I was ever going to convince him to give me something other than that.
But it was worth it because you got justice.
Honestly, it was. It was one of the few times where going off on somebody probably was a valid thing, and I do think it actually... he actually took the time on our next paper to sit down with everybody and go through it one-on-one. So that we actually could see what we'd done wrong. So, yeah, that was a pretty extreme example, but yeah, I did. Not only did I have a teacher throw an eraser at me, I threw it back at them. So,
this is a disclaimer. Do not throw erasers at your teachers.
Yeah.
We take no responsibility.
I'll tell you what, if your teacher throws an eraser at you, you have my permission to throw it right back at him.
If he initiates it, but don't just randomly throw erasers at your teacher.
Like that teacher on YouTube, that video that went around where the teacher picks up the desk and throws it at the student.
Wait, what?
And this black kid who's like way buff grabs the desk in midair when he throws it at him and just throws it back. And the teacher's just like cowering in the corner for like another minute and a half.
Oh, I could tell you stories about when I was in high school because, well... perhaps another time. We've got other topics we wanted to talk about.
I have a topic or another teacher story that I want to say. Please do not interrupt me because you're gonna try. So there's this teacher that I have that supposedly is a tech teacher.
Oh no! Please don't.
This is a joint one for the two of you.
Yeah, but
I had her a lot worse than you.
Let me say this, and then you can say your side. So. You know she's a bad tech teacher when she's reading when you see a For Dummies book underneath her desk.
That was me.
And I never said I did it. I'm just saying other people have seen it. There was so
you know you have a bad tech teacher when she uses duct tape on the 3D printer bed.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it wasn't even duct tape. It was like
cheap knockoff dollar store tape.
Like crap.
You know the one with like the weird coating on the outside?
Yeah,
and Scotch tape on the outside? The point
3M
is to make
blue tape. 3M blue tape. Mm-hmm. That's what you use. The other, you don't use duct tape. Anyway, so especially on a heated bed.
So she is so incompetent. And one of my really good friends who I'll put him under the name of I'll just call him friend.
Name is Juan.
He's really into penetration, like security stuff. I'll put it that way. I mean, if you consider putting Halo on the school servers as security.
He really likes hacking things.
Anyway,
there you go.
He happens to be in this teacher's robotics class, and basically she pulls him aside every single day, talks to him in the back room, and gets the entire lesson plan from him for the entire year for almost all of her classes. And when she doesn't pull him aside, he gets up in front of everybody and teaches it for the robotics class. And so the person, she is
teacher.
The teacher, yeah, the teacher. She's getting paid for what my friend is doing the entire year. And that's not the only stupid thing that she does. She gets out of teaching by getting the army the recruiters for military to go over and give presentations on the stupidest things.
Literally once a month.
She
made one of them teach her lesson.
It's ridiculous. She had to teach us a lesson on like the physics of an airplane and how all of it works. And she makes a Navy recruiter do it. A guy who runs boats, not the airplanes.
No, he was a Navy pilot.
Oh, I thought she was saying that it was.
He was
boats,
a Navy pilot.
Still, he flies. He's not the engineer. And it's like.
The Navy pilots are.
He knew what he was talking about, but misjudged.
But to have her teach for an hour, or to have him teach for an hour, and then come repeatedly after, is ridiculous.
Okay,
all right.
Now it's my turn to rant. Yeah. So, they're a bad teacher when a student asks what her qualification was, and she says she sold laptops at Sam's Club for a year.
She's like, oh.
Yeah.
She tried to claim... Can I say one thing?
Yes.
Yeah, so she tried to claim that...
I don't know. Can you say just one thing?
No, I can't. So, she tried to claim that... all-in-one computers are the best option for anybody in any form of situation, in any form of computer needed. And she boldly stated it. She
always said the old people would want the all-in-ones.
Oh, no, she was saying that it was like the best choice, too. It was ridiculous. And we were doing the learning about computers thing, and I love messing with and building computers. I've pretty much everything about building computers I love. It's like adult Legos.
Pretty much. Yeah, I can go with that.
It's like adult Legos. And so she's teaching us like the wrong terms and stuff for the wrong things.
She's coming up with her own abbreviations.
It's not just old terms. She was adding stuff in. I can't remember what one of the abbreviations that she made up was. It was for like this made up thing that wasn't a thing. But yeah, it continue.
So I actually had her a lot worse than you, because not only did we both have the 1 year class together, but I also had the half year class with her, and that really made me mad because it wasn't even a class I signed up for. So it was a required thing where you could sign up for computer science or computer technology. Computer technology, I had no desire to do that, because it's teaching you how to use Microsoft Word and PowerPoint and all of those easy things that I already knew how to do. So I signed up for computer science, and then they give me computer tech. So I was already upset about that, and then I end up with the teacher. And yeah, so she was too lazy to set up one of the 3D printers in her classroom because she doesn't know how to Google a manual online to set it up. So I'm like, hey, I'm done with my stuff. I'm just gonna set up your 3D printer. She's like, okay, I bet you can't do it. So I pull up the manual and I set it all up for her. But while I was doing that, there was a For Dummies book on Excel, which was the next thing we were going to be learning about, sitting on her desk. She was literally teaching from a For Dummies book. She should be teaching that. And then towards the end of the year in our engineering class, so she had us make all of these projects for a laser cutter that we would laser cut something out for, and 3D print something. So for like 3 weeks, she was like saying, "Oh, I'll 3D. I got to 3D print those. I'll start doing that. I'll start doing that after school." For like 3 or 4 weeks, she never did it. And then she ended up doing like 4 people's projects by the end of the year when she had 3 months to do it.
Correction. The easy ones to print and do. The easy ones were the ones that were like a ring or like a little tiny thing that would be like a 2-minute print job. And then she just sat on her desk with her legs up on the table and like just sat there eating
and then
chips.
She also she didn't just make the one student teach the robotics class. She made her TA teach our engineering class.
I freaking offered to print everything for her and do it for her, and she said, "No, I'll get it done." And she never gave it to me. So first off, she was making us use. I'm really triggered right now because I despise her. So there's basically
we are going to have to edit this down a bit. You know that, don't you?
But okay, so we were using this program called Inventor, which is a 3D modeling, which is possible to do 2D stuff in, but it's just annoying and it's not practical. She made us do it in that, and I walked up to her and said, "Hey, can I just use Corel Draw to do this?" Or yeah, Corel Draw to be able to make the laser cutter image. And I was doing a case for a Raspberry Pi, and she's like, "Yeah, sure, just get it in the right format, and I'll let you do it." And I give her a flash drive with it on it. She plugs it into the computer, says, "I'll do it later." And I say, I kind of want the flash drive back, like, soon, because I have a project later today. And she's like, "Okay, I'll just put it on my computer then, and we'll print it in a bit." And I never
By the way,
received
there was nothing on the laser cutter at this time.
Yeah, there was nothing.
There was literally never anything on it.
She just leaves it in the corner, and she claims that it was overheating and putting too much smoke out, and that's why she couldn't do it.
That's because a student kicked in the filter on the outside of the building. That's why it was filling up with smoke and filling her lab with smoke.
She fixed it, and she still didn't do it, though.
No, she didn't fix it. She had to have the tech guy come put in a new filter because she didn't know what to do.
Yeah. Incompetent tech teachers really trigger me.
Let's close this rant. I think we've
ranted fine.
We've ranted a long time.
It's a longer podcast,
so we're gonna have to edit this down a bit, I'm certain. So
yes.
we'll look at it.
So just assume the rant was a lot longer than you've experienced.
Let's say we're 45 minutes into this rant. So
wait, what? We're a lot longer than I thought we were.
Special.
Yeah.
No.
So
because we still got some topics we want to talk about.
We got a few other topics we want to talk about.
Recent Unturned update in this game we like. So yesterday, there was a new Unturned update where he released the much anticipated Russia map.
Copy paste from Me Like Big Boom's title every time he starts the video. The much anticipated Russia map.
What?
He says that every time he starts the video about Russia, Taylor.
Whatever. Anyway, it's 4 times bigger than any of the previous maps. Plus, he added 10 new vehicle types.
And Mafia.
Tons of new items. And it's kind of great.
So, I've been playing that. I've been playing and just exploring the map to try. When I play a game, especially an open world game, I like to memorize the map before I get really into it and try and figure out like the map layout so that I know where I'm going and I don't have to check the map every 20 seconds. But there's just so many tiny cities down towards the bottom that I don't know
the farms and the campsites.
I know the farms, and the campsites are just the ones that I like.
Those are the only tiny things at the bottom of the map.
What's driving me nuts, though, is you always spawn
in that
clear down at the bottom, and it's like...
He should put a spawn inside the dead zone.
That is
that would be bad.
Just do that on April Fools. Change all the spawns to inside dead zones.
That would kill so many people's characters. That would be
or even
so
just
mean.
Put them right on the edge, so you got a 50-50 chance of you turn left, you're in the dead zone. You turn right, you're not.
Oh man, that's evil.
Or just spawn you 500 feet in the air.
Just falls to your death. Oh my gosh.
No, it's actually been a fun update.
Yeah.
We've been spending some time playing around in there. Some good new weapons.
The PPSH is amazing because you can just carry one mag in your
It's
gun.
not a PPSH. It's a calling card.
Okay, yeah, but it's PPSH.
Otherwise
from
known
those
as a
birds.
Thompson.
No, that's a PPSH. That's a PPSH. I know it's a PPSH.
It's a Russian gun.
It's
It's
the
not a
entire
Thompson.
design of it is a PPSH. Like all
But-
Then it must be a
the PPSH.
ripoff of a Thompson.
No.
It's not a ripoff actually because it fires a bigger round. It's like I can't remember the exact round that it fires. I think it's like some weird Russian.
Okay, so this is mobsters.
That is a
On the map.
PPSH.
Yeah, this is the PPSH.
Okay,
So yeah, the Thompson has a solid pistol grip.
aesthetically, it's a Thompson.
No, because the Thompson has a solid pistol grip at standard.
That's a Thompson.
Yeah, see, the Thompson, it's a lot, and plus I think it's the magazine feeds differently. There's a lot of things that are different inside the gun. But yeah,
Well, part of it is because the Thompson takes some ridiculously huge number of machining moves to manufacture it, and so copying it would not be
this is I
really
think this is
stamped metal.
like an AK.
Like all Russian guns are. They would have to find a way to make it not be so complex to manufacture, because the Tommy gun is actually a very highly precise engineered piece of machinery.
And people like it's not like issued, but I've heard a lot of stories of people in modern military still using the Thompson because they love the feel of it and stuff, and
They like to feel
they like the 45 caliber.
they like to feel like mobsters.
It's yeah, and then there's I've been using the G36 a ton now, which I don't remember what that name is either.
He's got a lot more spawns in there. That's spawning different things. I mean, even stuff like Civ ammo, Civ armor. I hadn't seen that. I mean,
for like months.
I know they had it. I've never seen it spawn.
Yeah, because that spawns on the other maps. That spawns in gun stores and like that.
Because of what's happened is he added a lot of new items after the map's created, and that makes it hard for him to go back through all of the maps and update them. So with those maps, I think he just slipped it into a category of a spawn.
It makes sense.
On this one, there are specific spawns for every item that was already in the game.
It makes it so there's more different tiers of looting, so that it's not just, oh look, there's a Barrett and there's like
You just
that
go
makes sense.
with the other maps. You pretty much just loot the military base.
There's so many other spots that it's like
This you kind of have to loot other places.
because you can't get food you can really only food has been a problem for me.
Serious?
Food's an issue. Yeah, getting enough.
I have not had an issue with
Another
food.
thing is I don't think he adjusted the spawn rates of how often things spawn.
Yes, he did.
For the bigger the map is, and
Oh.
so it's
Well,
yeah. So
Well,
it's,
he
think if
puts
you had
in
a
the
map-
spawns individually.
yeah, but I think they're pretty spread out because it's such a bigger map.
If there were more than a half dozen people on the map, I think it would be a real issue.
I'm talking
Oh.
about the percentage of
The chance
the
of it to
chance of it
spawn.
spawning. Yeah.
Like the military vests, those are hard
So
to find.
when there's a certain
I've
number of
seen
items
two.
spawned, it can't spawn any more items. It only spawns like a certain number of items in each city. That's how the whole thing works. And so he hasn't adjusted that for the bigger map, and I actually really like that because it adds a huge challenge to try and get everything that you need.
But realistically, if you had anything larger than a couple players on it, it would be very, very difficult. And then you would want more players on a large map like that. Otherwise, you won't find anybody. So it kind of removes any PvP aspect. But
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, okay, there is one thing to be said about the bigger map, though. It makes it so it's more realistic because in a further into an apocalypse situation, you aren't going to be seeing people everywhere. It's like DayZ. DayZ, you have to walk with on a not very full server. You have to walk really far to find a person, and it adds an element of surprise when you're on a full server in Unturned because you'll be walking around minding your own business, then just get shot at, and just get the crap scared out of you, and have to hurry, duck, and cover, and go into full tactic mode. It's
The large map is better for flying vehicles too, because you don't run into the skyboxes as much.
Okay, so I think we've covered the Unturned update. You guys wanted to talk about the Olympics. Now, I have to say, I honestly haven't watched it much. I watched a little bit of the BMX when you were watching it.
yeah.
I don't know. I haven't been able to get excited about the Olympics this time around.
You were pretty into that soccer match.
Because I was sitting there watching it, and it was USA. And when
The
it's
RIP US soccer.
if there's somebody I can root for, I'll root. It was funny though. Fenchurch says, "I'm jump up and start cheering for the U.S. team," and Fenchurch just, okay, that was really weird. I don't know how to process that. You were just cheering for a team.
Other than a race team.
Yeah, I don't generally. I don't get into sports too terribly much.
So there's that's the recent story I've heard about the Olympics is with, his name is Ryan Lochte, or I don't know how to say his name. Just hope one of those was right. Was it like a week or so ago? He said that the team got robbed at gunpoint at a gas station. But recently the police and stuff have been saying the details were a bit different. Right now I think the story that they're settling with is that the swim team had vandalized a bathroom, and then they were confronted by armed guards and being forced to pay the money, and then they were saying that they were robbed at gunpoint when they were really just being forced to pay for their vandalisms. But
I didn't hear about that.
yeah, don't do that.
Yeah,
Don't
sadly,
vandalize
that's
bathrooms.
one of the only things I've actually heard about the Olympics, other than a few things. But
There was this one. I can't remember which BMX race it was, but it was one of the ones where it was one of the actual races. It wasn't the seating. It was the one where they have everybody together. And there was this guy. So he was going off a jump and then landed it weird, and his fork on his bike just snapped right in half. And he stood back up and just started running to the finish, hobbling over to the finish line, carrying his bike to the finish line, and ended up still, like, I think he still qualified for the next race by doing that, because there was a bunch of other people that were on the ground back there behind him. And
sometimes that's what it takes.
Yeah.
I mean, there in auto racing, there are times where the race car driver's car would break down just, on the straightaway just before the end of the race, and they'd get out and push the car, and the driver and the car both made it across the finish line.
Yeah.
If you tried to do that today, they probably would disqualify you for being unsafe, because the last thing they want is a driver out on the race course with the live traffic. But at the time, safety wasn't as much a concern as spectacle. And sometimes you got to be willing to just pick it up and put it on your shoulder and finish it yourself.
Yeah.
It was sad to see America. I think the one thing I've watched was the ending of the American women's team losing to Sweden in soccer or football,
That was,
as the rest of the world calls it. And it was so close.
There was the 120-minute game, then 20 or so minutes of overtime, and then they went to the first penalty kick match in Olympic history, and the U.S. lost it. See, I was talking to Fenchurch afterwards, and she was telling me that it would be funny if one of the soccer players was talking like one of the NBA, the basketball players. She's like, the basketball player's like, hey, what'd you guys score in your game? It was 1-1. How about you? 110-70. Just like, yeah, get a little stomped out.
Yeah, I haven't watched the rest of the BMX. I've kind of, but US was doing well on the one that I watched, like really well. They were.
I have to say one thing about watching the BMX. It's like these giant guys on these little teeny bikes. I can't help but think of like the circus, the clowns on those little teeny bicycles.
They look tiny because they don't. The seats are basically nothing.
No,
they are.
It's also
the bikes have to be small.
They are tiny.
The wheels are smaller. It's because it's a BMX bike. It's meant to.
I understand.
Be light and tiny.
You're trying to justify something that I already understand. It still looks like a little tiny bike under a big giant person, and
little
it's
tiny
funny.
Bike would be a toddler bike riding.
Pretty much. Pretty much.
That's pretty much what they are, JT.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Nope.
Anyway, since we don't know too much about the Olympics, how about we talk a little bit about the...
Oh, but I will say this. I found an article that I had to laugh about. And okay, so I've been trying to find the article and I can't find it, but basically what it was about was some of the odd events in the Olympics. One of which probably is one of the least odd ones, was the dressage. Where
the what?
It looks like it's dressage, but
isn't that the horse dancing? No,
basically horse dancing. Yeah.
Oh, that's what that was.
Why is that a sport?
That was so dumb.
Why is that a sport?
My mom wouldn't.
They should have paintball replace that.
Change that.
Okay, now, have you ever seen horses do steeplechase, which they do in the Olympics?
What's that?
Which they have the horses and they're jumping the gates and going over the little lakes and hills and things. They've got steeplechase for people in the Olympics too. Absolutely hilarious to watch, because you got people, you're guaranteed to have somebody go face first into a puddle of water.
What is it called? What's it called?
It's called steeplechase. It's a race. I mean, it's a race. There was another one that they had on there, and I had no idea that this was the thing. Okay, you know how in America we have different names for sports.
Mm-hmm.
So if I say
special,
if I say handball, what do you think of?
Baseball, isn't that what it is?
No,
handball.
I don't know. What is the equivalent of handball?
So when we talk about handball, I think of like in a racquetball court, but using your hand and you're bouncing it off the walls, and that's what handball has always been. Or it'll be like in an urban area where they're playing with their hands and bouncing the ball off the wall.
I've never referred to anything as handball, so...
Okay. So they have a sport in the Olympics that apparently internationally is quite the thing. It is handball, but think of it as soccer, but with your hands. And so, like, they dribble it if they want to move, or they can pass it, but it's like handball. And they have nets like in soccer. It looks like a soccer field, but they can only use their hands. So it's like taking soccer and basketball and mashing them up.
What the heck?
Yeah.
Is it a soccer ball?
No, but it's about the size of one. I think.
Looking at steeplechase, it kind of reminds me of that one show Wipeout, where they're like rummaging through like the puddles and the mud and stuff like that, trying to like get around the obstacles.
Not too dissimilar. The other one that I think is interesting, and I don't necessarily see this one as off the wall as they did, but Pentathlon.
What?
Where it's 5 different, completely different events. Basically what the pentathlon is, if you look at it, it's based on old military maneuvers, and it's a lot of the Olympic events, their roots come from things that the military would want to do.
That's why that horse dancing thing is because they had to control their horses and stuff.
That would be part of it. But like javelin is throwing a javelin to kill somebody, So hammer throw,
pentathlon,
same thing.
Long jump,
discus.
javelin, discus. Daddy-on and wrestling.
Yeah, so they've got to do all the, but maybe it's not pentathlon that I'm thinking of. Then there's another one. I mean, they're doing like this marathon, then they're shooting, then they're doing horseback riding.
No,
then
never
shooting would
mind.
be
That was the
and then-
ancient Greek one. The modern Olympic one is shooting, swimming, fencing, equestrian,
That's it.
vegetarianism, and cross-country running.
That's it. That's the one. So it is pentathlon.
Yeah, that
Okay.
would make a lot of sense, actually.
I mean,
don't know
but
why that's
it's just like, seriously, this is the yeah. So there's a lot of events. I do have to say, some of the X events that they're doing in the Olympics now.
Like what? What do you mean?
BMX
X events?
biking, you
Oh,
know, and
I like it.
X Games type events that they're doing.
It's a sport, though.
It's a sport.
That's how
yes,
I mean, mountain biking. Do you think mountain biking's
mountain biking's not in like X Games and stuff.
Yeah, it's not in the actual X Games, I don't think, but it's still they have like
maybe I'm showing my age on that
They
one.
aren't
Yeah.
doing tricks
they do BMX tricks.
in mountain biking.
Yeah, they do mountain biking tricks, Taylor. They have, what do you think Red Bull Rampage is?
But that's not in the Olympics.
Okay, but they do
Well, but
tricks.
that's what
You
we're
just said-
talking about here is the Olympics.
We're not
You just
talking
said-
about Red
You
Bull.
just said mountain biking. Mountain bikers don't do tricks. You just said that.
Mountain biking is not tricks. It's biking through a mountain.
Oh, yeah, but they mix jumps in, and they do
Not
other stuff. Yeah.
Really.
Have you seen the
They don't do
videos of
tricks and stuff. They just go down a hill.
Have you seen the videos of them doing it in the Olympics?
Yeah. And there are no tail whips.
You can't do a tail whip on
Or
a mountain bike.
exactly.
Because, so you can't do one trick. So
Can you do a
can't.
360
You can
on a
do
mountain
flares. You can do front. Yeah, you can do a 360 on a mountain
Okay,
bike.
bike? Okay.
I think
Oh
we're
my
getting off topic
Gosh,
here,
Taylor,
boys.
you were so
Okay, go do
incompetent.
one right now.
I can't, but you can. It's possible.
No, I can't either.
You can do backflips. You can do.
Okay,
Anyways, we're gonna let that one go now.
I'll resume
So I got-
later.
I've
No, you
got
won't. I'll just ignore you.
I've got
like I always
two
do.
final topics. Two final topics. First one.
Are you,
What were they thinking when they put Swedish Fish and Oreos together?
Oh,
Can we? What?
oh, you weren't there. Okay.
We were at the grocery store. On the shelf.
Swedish
Oreos.
fish.
With Swedish Fish
Flavored cream.
middle, like,
The cream.
but no, it's not cream. It's Swedish Fish.
It is?
It's like
Oh. It's
Gummy.
That actually
Seriously?
could be interesting.
I thought it was flavored
okay,
cream.
no.
every review I've seen says it tastes like cough syrup.
Well, that's just how.
Mm. It's Swedish
Okay,
fish branded
so-
too.
I'll try. I'll see if they still have them. We'll get some and we'll have a taste test. I just have to wonder who was the brainchild that came up with that one, and
Some guy had a bag of
Like-
Swedish Fish and a bag of Oreos and a box of Oreos. On the
Let's
table.
see how many people we can ruin their taste buds.
I mean, I just the
Well,
the
it's
marketing.
Like, it's like Taco
on-
Bell combining stuff that they own. Guys,
Yeah,
that's
that's-
usually people who are working at the stores that come
Yeah,
up with
they
it.
come up
They're
with
like in the back and
good
they're like,
stuff.
"Whoa, let's just mix these together and see what happens."
Like the quesarito, but that's
Yeah.
actually a smart idea. Swedish fish and Oreos is
Lacking in full levels of intelligence.
there we go.
Okay. So perhaps we will have to do a Swedish Fish taste off here.
taste off, not a competition.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a competition of how many we can eat without dying,
I don't know. We'll see.
without losing all taste.
The topic number 2 to finish this up, and this is terribly sad. Star Wars actor Kenny Baker. Do you guys know who he was?
Are you sure? Which one did he play? I know the name.
R2D2.
Oh, him.
Did he die
Yes.
from just old age?
Yeah, 83 years old.
Oh man,
So now
didn't he play R2D2 in the new Star Wars?
he's played
Or
it.
no, didn't they? They did R2D2 full robot,
Um,
didn't they?
Yeah, but I think he played it. It played him in some of it as in some of the new ones as well.
Having an 83-year-old man as R2-D2 crammed into that little
Well, he didn't have
trash
to
can.
move very much.
Yeah, but why? How do you convince an 83-year-old man to climb into a trash can?
If I played R2-D2 back in the original Star Wars, I would have wanted to do it for the new one. No question.
Yeah, it's funny. I liked him as an actor far better when he wasn't in the
What
can.
was he in?
Time Bandits is one that stands out to me.
I haven't seen that in so long.
Damn, it's been a while.
We'll watch it again. That's a fun movie. Terry Gilliam is an interesting filmmaker. We'll have to have a Terry Gilliam fest. He was part of Monty Python.
He was?
Yes. Kind of the more warped of them all. And so
That's
all the
saying
animations...
I'm pretty sure they were all
He's
warped.
the one that did all
He's the only American that was in Monty Python.
I think all the Monty Python people are kind of warped.
No, yeah,
I don't
but-
think there's
but
anyone.
He's not just warped. He's completely bent.
warped, it just popped into my head the meaning of life.
Yeah.
One with the song with all the children. I won't sing
Yeah,
it, but
no,
everybody
don't.
who's seen it will know.
What song?
So anyway, it's sad. Kenny Baker. I do have to say, living with dwarfism is something that has a lot of physical complications with it. They tend to have a lot of very, very serious health issues. And the fact that he was able to live to the age of 83 is, let's see here. They've got conflicting, they've got him died at age 81, and then first line of it says died at age 83. They need to get their act together here.
Yeah.
But the fact that he lived that long is actually remarkable because of a lot of those complications that can happen. I understand that the last little while he's been very infirm. We'll just put it that way. But that's a sad thing. I think there are a lot of these characters, people who have been an important part of who we are, that will be going away over time.
Yeah.
Over the near future, and it's just sad.
And I think it's going to happen pretty quickly too, because it's getting to the time where most of them are getting of age. I mean, everything from like who else? There was another Star Wars person.
Harrison Ford.
Harrison Ford isn't going to die soon,
Oh,
but
he's another
eventually.
Star Wars
Peter
person.
Mayhew, and who played Chewbacca, and then David Prowse, who played Darth Vader. They're both getting.
Isn't John Williams like way old?
Yeah, he's in his 80s as well. He's in the process of scoring Episode 8 right now.
Maybe they. It makes me wonder if they're having him do all of the music before, like. for
He's
all
not
of
doing the
these
music for
possible-
Rogue One.
He isn't?
No, but he is for Episode 8.
I don't know how that's going to feel. That could be different.
It's a different
Well, that's the whole
style of
point.
movie.
Oh, true. It's gonna. From what I've heard, it's going to be a lot more like dark and like more like a war movie,
That's what it is.
which I think that could be cool.
Well, it's sad to see Kenny Baker go. I think he's kind of the first of the core cast to move on, and it's unfortunate, but at the same time, he left a really cool legacy.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, I think we will close this podcast today. Do you guys have anything you want to say about Kenny Baker before we close it up? Didn't think so.
Thanks for squeezing into a trash can so we could have Star Wars.
Mm-hmm. True.
Actually, I have to say one thing. He got that garbage can to actually emote.
Yeah,
I mean, you love that garbage can.
it's true.
Yeah.
Everybody loves the
And it
garbage
wasn't just the boops and the weeps that it made.
can. It was the movements and the.
When it's sitting there shaking and doing the things it was doing, that was Kenny Baker. He kind of brought R2D2 to life. And so, yeah, thanks for squeezing into a garbage can and giving us something to make our childhood a little better.
And for those British viewers, rubbish can.
There we go.
Now we've covered all our bases.
Anyway, have an adventitious day.